Welcome to the online lectures for software engineering. So in today's class, we'll be beginning with the topic user interface analysis and design. Now this you first, what is an interface? Interface is a point of communication. Now this interface design, it is going to focus on a few things. Now the interface, it is going to focus upon the design of the different software components, and it is going to again focus upon the design between the software and other non-human producers, and it can focus upon the design of the interface between a human and the computer. An example of an interface can be a graphical user interface, GUI. Now the first topic here is the golden rules of user interface design. Now within those golden rules of the user interface design, there's a person named Theo Mandel. Now, this person, Theo Mandel, has coined three golden rules. You've got three golden rules for user interface. Now, these rules act as a basis for the user interface. Three golden rules. This is a basis for your user interface design principles. Now, these principles are going to guide you of what are the different software engineering actions. Now, the three golden rules are: first, place the user in control; second, reduce the user's memory load; and the third one is make the interface consistent. So these are the three rules. Now, this particular answer, that is the golden rules of user interface, this is a very important answer. This can be asked for 5 marks or for 7 marks or even in 2 marks also. Just list the three golden rules of user interface, or you need to explain in detail the three golden rules. Now we'll be studying in detail the three golden rules. The first one is place the user in control. Now the first rule within placing the user in control is define interactive modes in a way that does not force a user into unnecessary or undesired actions. That is, whenever a user is using a specific user interface, this user, he should be able to enter and exit with no effort. That is, he does not have to put more efforts to do a specific task. So here the user is put in control. What he wants to do, that specific task, he should be able to do. The next one is provide for flexible interactions. Now, providing for flexible interactions means that you can make use of keyboard commands or some specific mouse movements to complete a specific task. That is, if you press Ctrl S, it should save the specific file. Or if you're using mouse commands, you're going from file, selecting save or save as, it should do the same task. So these are your flexible interactions. Then the next one is allow the user interactions to be uninterruptible and undoable. Now this means that the user should be able to make changes between the user should be able to make changes without any interruption. That is, if suppose sometimes what happens is you you do some specific action and you do not want that particular action, so you select the undo option or the control that option. So the user should be able to undo any action that he wants. He should be easily able to interrupt the sequence of actions. Should be able to undo any action, the user shall be. Now the next is hide technical internals from the casual user. That is, there is no use that the user gets to know what how the operating system is interacting, how you're managing your files, how file management is done, or what is networking. These all things, these technical internals should be hidden from the users. Like this should work behind the scenes, because these details, if even given to the user, it is of no use. Then the next one is design for direct interactions with objects that appear on the screen. That is, the user should be easily able to manipulate objects on the screen. That is, if like you want to enlarge or you want to move the slider, what are the actions that you want to do on the screen, this user should be able to do them easily. That is, they should be easily visible on the screen. The next one is reducing the user's memory load. The Theo Mandel's second golden rule is reducing the user's memory load. Now, the first point within reducing the user's memory load, reduce the demand on short-term memory. That is, whatever interface you're using, that interface, it should reduce the requirement that the user should not be able to remember what his past action was, what is the past action that he have done, or what was the previous file that he accessed. He should not be able to remember that. The particular interface, whatever user interface that you're using, this user interface should provide you cues on the actions, on your previous actions. Then the second one is define shortcuts that are intuitive. That is, whatever that intuitive means, the shortcuts should be easy to remember. That is, suppose in specific on in multiple applications you have got the control plus S. This is for save. Control plus A, it is for selecting all. So these specific shortcuts, these should be easily to remember. That is, in specific app, it is control S is for saving. If another app, control S is for copying, that is going to be difficult. So shortcut should be the ones that can be easily remembered, like basically using the first letters, like C is for copy, paste, or print. So this is how you can reduce the user's memory load. That is, he does not have to remember different shortcuts for different applications. Then continuing, the next is the visual layout of the interface should be based on a real world metaphor. That is, whatever user interface that you're using, this should be easily relatable to a real world action. Now, relatable to a real world action, this means that if suppose uh, you're paying a gas bill. So what do you do within the gas while you're paying the gas bill or the electricity bill? First, you're going to put in your details. After you put in your details, you're going to see how much payment is there. Based upon that payment, you're going to identify if any arrears are there, whether they need to be paid. Then what is the total amount? Then within this total amount, you're going to pay the amount, and at the end you get the receipt. So these details, if you go and pay the electricity bill, these are the steps that are going to be followed. If you have an online application, it should also follow the same steps. So this is how it should be relatable to a real world actions. Then the next one is disclose information in a progressive fashion. Now, progressive fashion means the information should be displayed in a stepwise fashion. That is at the first only, like if in file if if you select some specific action, it is not going to give you all the features. If suppose you have got different, if you want page layout app options, so you go to specific page layout, then within the page layout drop down you can have different options for your page layout or for some specific document. That information, it should be present hierarchically. All the options should not be present at the beginning. If you want in detail, you're going to go in detail. If others do not have more knowledge, if some people do not have more knowledge about the specific application in the depths, they should also be able to easily use the application. The information that is required by some specific user, they need to go in the details and select that specific actions. The more a user has to remember, the more error prone interactions with the system will be. That is, if suppose there is more load upon the user's memory, that is, he needs to remember every action, he needs to remember every shortcut. So if he needs to remember multiple actions, multiple shortcuts that need to be performed, there is a possibility that he might forget some specific shortcut or specific action that need to be followed, the sequence of steps that need to be followed. If there are a lot of load on the person's memory, then there's chances that your interactions with the system are going to be error prone. That is, more errors can occur. The next one is make the interface consistent. The third golden rule is making the interface consistent. Now, making the interface consistent is the first point in here. Is the interface should present and acquire information in a consistent fashion. That is, all the information that is present within the application, it should be organized according to your design standards, and this should be maintained throughout all your screen displays. That is, how many different screens you have within your application, each of them should have the information that is organized according to the design standard, and that need to be maintained across the different set of screens that you're using. That is, if we take an example, if suppose there is some specific input mechanism, that is, for a specific file you need to give voice input. So for that voice specific input, this should be maintained for the entire application. If voice input is necessary somewhere, you need to give voice input. If you need to give some text input, that needs to be maintained. So the next one is maintain consistency across a family of applications. Now, maintaining consistency among a set of applications, this specific rule states that you need to follow the same design rules, whatever design rules you're following. For if you the same design that you have followed for the some basic application that you have developed, it should have that same design for that updated functionality application also, or some complementary functions are attached that need to follow the same design that are applied to that specific family of applications. That is, for specific application, like you've got this Geo app. For this Geo app, you've got Geo TV. Different set of applications are there. So that whatever consistency is there for that specific Geo app, that need to be followed across the different Geo applications. And then the next one is, if past interactive models have created user expectation, do not make changes unless there is a compelling reason to do that. Like within the previous point, I've told you that is shortcuts need to be intuitive. So if suppose the user is aware for every application that control plus S is save only. So you should not make any changes to control S. You should not make it as for opening a file. If that is very much necessary, then only you need to change. If you've got a very valid reason to do that, then only you need to change that specific shortcut, or else you should not make any changes within this specific mode. That is how you make the interface consistent. First, following the same design rules, following the same shortcuts that you're using, and following this way where how you have organized the information that need to be followed across the different screens. You're not going to have that one screen has got one different layout is there, another screen can have another layout. That is not acceptable. So these are the three golden rules that were coined by Theo Mandel. Now, as this particular answer is important, if this is asked in short answer, you can write down that Theo Mandel has coined the three specific golden rules. The first one is placing the user in control, reducing the user's memory load, and make the interface consistent. Then you can say that these golden rules that are used as basis for user interface principles, and this is going to guide the different software design actions. This is what you're going to write for your 2 mark answer. This if this answer is being asked for 5 mark, you're going to write down placing the user in control. Within that, you've got uh, some six or seven, some 6 points are there within the first one. 6 points are there. So if not, if you are unable to write six, at least try and write two and explain them. Then the second one has got something around 5 points. Try and explain two to three. Then the third one has got three rules. So you're going to try and explain at least 2 or 3 points you need to explain for 5 marks based upon the time. If it is being asked for 7 marks, try if suppose like for even for 5 marks, if you don't, if you're explaining at least two of them, try and write the three remaining, only the heading, because this answer is important. So this is how you need to attempt the answer for the specific golden rules answer, the performing the user interface design. At least heading need to be written. If you're explaining to the rest, heading need to be maintained. When you're writing heading, you can go for no explanation, but at least two needs to be explained. The rest you can just write headings based upon time management. So the this is end for the golden rules.